Tonight, far beyond the reach of crowded cities and restless streets, where the sea stretches endlessly beneath a sky without stars, there stands an old lighthouse upon a cliff of black stone. For as long as anyone in the nearby village can remember, its light has never stopped shining. Even during the fiercest storms, even when the winds screamed loud enough to shake the windows of every home along the coast, the lighthouse always remained awake, and so did the old keeper inside it. So before this story begins, allow yourself to rest for a little while tonight. Lie back somewhere comfortable. Put on your headphones, close your eyes gently, and imagine the sound of distant waves moving slowly beneath the cold midnight sky. The villagers rarely spoke to the lighthouse keeper anymore. Some believed he had gone mad years ago. Others simply pitied him. Every morning, he would walk down the narrow stone path toward the village, carrying the same small lantern, despite the sun already being high above the sea. And every evening, before darkness covered the ocean, he would climb back toward the lighthouse with careful, quiet steps, as though afraid the world might break if he moved too quickly. No one knew exactly how old he was anymore. Time had softened his face like weathered wood left too long beside the sea. His silver hair moved gently with the ocean wind, and his long coat always smelled faintly of salt, rain, and smoke from the fireplace above. But there was one thing the villagers noticed every single night. Inside the lighthouse, near the warm orange glow of the fire, there were always 2 cups of tea waiting on the table. One for him, and one for someone who never came. The old keeper never explained why. He simply prepared the second cup every evening with quiet care, placing it beside the empty chair closest to the fire. Sometimes he even spoke softly toward the silence, as though someone was listening. Years earlier, before loneliness became his only companion, the keeper had lived a very different life. Back then, the lighthouse was brighter, warmer, filled with laughter. His wife would hum old songs while rain tapped gently against the windows, and his little daughter would run endlessly across the wooden floors, her tiny footsteps echoing through the tower like music. And every night before sleep, the 3 of them would climb together to the lantern room above the sea. The daughter loved the light more than anything. She believed the lighthouse was alive. "She watches over everyone," she once whispered, while staring into the endless dark ocean. The keeper never forgot those words. Then, one winter evening, everything changed. A storm arrived without warning. The sea turned violent before sunset, swallowing the horizon beneath enormous black waves. Fishing boats hurried back toward shore, their lanterns shaking wildly in the rain. But one ship never returned. The ship carrying his wife and daughter home from the mainland. For days, the villagers searched the coastline. Broken wood washed ashore, pieces of rope, fragments of the ship, but never the bodies, never any sign of them. And after that night, the old keeper never truly left the lighthouse again, because somewhere deep inside his heart, a fragile hope remained alive. The sea had taken them, but perhaps one day the sea might return them too. The years passed quietly after that, storm after storm, winter after winter. Yet every night the lighthouse still shined across the endless water, and every night the keeper waited. Some evenings the ocean felt almost peaceful. The waves rolled gently beneath silver moonlight, and cold fog drifted slowly across the cliffs like wandering spirits. Those were the nights the keeper missed the most. He would sit beside the fireplace, holding the untouched second cup of tea long after it had gone cold, listening, waiting, hoping. Then, strange things began happening around the lighthouse. At first, it was small, almost impossible to notice. On quiet nights, the keeper sometimes heard distant bells somewhere beyond the fog. Not church bells, not village bells. The sound was deeper, older, like the bells of a ship lost far away at sea. The villagers heard them too, though no ships had crossed those waters in decades. Then came the footsteps. One stormy evening, while rain hammered violently against the tower windows, the keeper heard soft footsteps moving above him near the lantern room. Small footsteps, light footsteps, like a child running carefully across wooden floors. His heart nearly stopped. Slowly, he climbed the spiral stairs with trembling hands. But when he reached the top, the room was empty. Only the great lantern turned silently beside the glass windows while fog swallowed the ocean outside. Yet something had changed. Near the window, a tiny handprint appeared upon the cold glass. The keeper stared at it for a long time without speaking. Then, for the very first time in years, he smiled. After that night, the sea itself seemed restless. Fog grew thicker around the cliffs. The lighthouse beam disappeared into darkness sooner than before, and fishermen returning home began whispering about strange lights moving deep within the mist, far beyond the coast. One sailor swore he saw an old ship drifting silently across the horizon, a ship with torn sails, glowing pale beneath moonlight. Another claimed he heard voices singing softly over the water during the middle of the night, ancient songs carried by the wind. The villagers became frightened. Some begged the keeper to extinguish the lighthouse for good. "This place is cursed now," they warned him. But the old keeper only shook his head gently. "No," he whispered. "They're trying to find their way home." Then came the storm. The largest storm the village had seen in many years. The sky turned black long before nightfall. Waves crashed violently against the cliffs below the lighthouse, sending white water high into the air like ghosts rising from the sea. The wind screamed endlessly around the tower, yet inside the lantern room above the storm, the old keeper remained standing beside the great light, waiting. Far beyond the cliffs, hidden deep inside the moving darkness, something appeared. A shape, slowly emerging through the fog. The keeper's breathing became uneven as the ship drifted closer. Old wooden sails, broken masts, lanterns glowing faintly gold against the rain. It was the same ship that vanished all those years ago. And standing near the front of it were two familiar figures. A woman holding the hand of a little girl. The storm suddenly felt silent, as though the entire ocean itself had stopped breathing. Tears filled the keeper's eyes as the ship finally reached the cliffs below the lighthouse. The little girl smiled first. The exact same smile he had carried in his memories for years. "We found the light," she whispered softly. The keeper could barely speak. For one beautiful moment, the years of loneliness disappeared completely. The three of them sat together beside the fireplace once more while rain moved gently against the windows. The second cup of tea was finally touched. Warm laughter filled the lighthouse again. And for the first time in decades, the old keeper no longer felt alone.